Hi, it's Stadium Steve. Today we were reviewing the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the Cincinnati Reds. And as you can see here, this is a very, very classic stadium, even though it did not open that long ago, which of course is easy for me to say, considering that when I think of the Cincinnati Reds, I think of Riverfront Stadium. But the stadium did open in 2003, so it's a little over 20 years old now. First question, like always, is how do you get here? Cincinnati does have a very, very small light rail system. There is a station fairly close. So you take the light rail, get off at the Banks, which is at 2nd and Main, and it's an easy walk right over. Also, you can drive. There's plenty of parking garages. Parking is very easy here. As you can see here in the front of the stadium, there is a rather large Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame, which is definitely worth the time to visit, seeing as how the Cincinnati Reds have a very, very storied history. Directly across from the stadium, you can see here there are a lot of restaurants for people to go to before the game. This area tends to get very, very packed several hours before the games tend to start. Primarily the reason for that is that inside the park, there's kind of your basic types of food. Tends to be stadium priced too, so it's a lot easier to go eat across the street. Also, right when you enter the stadium, you see a statue of Johnny Bench, which is very, very fitting for your first entrance right into the stadium. As you'll see, there are also other statues around the stadium, which is fairly common for most stadiums nowadays. Okay, as you walk through the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame, you get a very, very spectacular view of the ballpark. And as you can see here, there is a nice open air area for seating. There's also a fan zone here to the right. The fan zone you cannot enter unless you have tickets to the game, so you have to actually go into the stadium before heading to the right to that fan zone. But as you can see here, it does have a very, very classic old-timers ballpark type of feel to it, with a really phenomenal entrance with pitchers and hitters and catchers right before you make your entrance into the ballpark.
But they don't have numbers. Look, the picture, everything. Look at this.
As we continue to make our way around the front of the stadium, here's a series of statues of some legendary Cincinnati Red players, which includes Joe Morgan here in the front, and the person sliding right behind him is Pete Rose. The Great American Ballpark does sit right in the banks of the Ohio River, which creates a tremendous backdrop for the stadium and the fans. And as you can see here is a close-up of Joe Morgan, as well as a really spectacular mural on the side of some of the office buildings, or the Cincinnati Reds front office buildings. And here's a close-up of Pete Rose, presumably sliding into second base. Pete Rose.
Pete Rose. Oh, Pete Rose.
In case you were wondering, Great American Ballpark is probably the best named ballpark in the majors. It is actually named after an insurance company, as opposed to just a standalone name. And here's a statue of the legendary Tony Perez. Okay, and as we make our way around the stadium, this building with the giant mural on the side is the team store. The main team store is not actually in the stadium, which is a little unusual. But as you make our way inside, it has a tremendous selection of Reds gear, and it actually has multiple stories to it. So just a tremendous amount of gear to buy. It is open well before the game time, so you can come here and shop. Surprisingly, this store has a lot of gear from the Big Red Machine back in the 70s. So if you're a classic Reds fan, this is a phenomenal spot to get all of the classic gear, including even some Ken Griffey Jr. stuff where he ended his career here in Cincinnati. Okay, so here we are walking towards Great American Ballpark, about ready to make our entrance inside. And as you can see here on the right is the fan zone, which is where we will go to first. But let's check it out. Okay, as we are inside here, the main corridor, and you can see here on the right, there are some Reds team shops inside, but they're not nearly as big as the one on the outside. Walking through the stadium, this does have a feeling of your standard ballpark, and it really does feel that way as you're walking through it. Really nothing spectacular about these main corridors. The food is very generic, which is probably why a lot of people do opt to go to the restaurants on the outside of the stadium. Proud to come in here. But one thing they do have is they do have a phenomenal beer selection, including bootleggers here on the left now, where you can actually sit down and have some beer. But we are going to make our way to the fan zone. One thing I do have to say is that out of all the stadiums I've been to, Great American Ballpark is the best designed for kids or families who want to do some of the extracurricular activities either before or during the game. The kids could pretty much spend their entire time in this fan zone and never ever watch the game. So let's check out the fan zone. Okay, here we are in the fan zone. And the first thing obviously that you see is there is a playground for the kids, mostly for the smaller kids here. But as we continue down, you'll see here in the distance, there is a small baseball field that is made of turf. This tends to be the highlight of maybe some of the older kids. There is actually somebody from the Cincinnati Reds staff who is pitching to kids, and they get to hit wiffle balls with the bat and actually run around the bases and everything. This really created a highlight for some of the older kids, as you can see with the line of kids waiting to bat. And there's another look at the line. We got here very, very early, and you tend to have to if you want to stand in this line. Hopefully we can get done with this before the game actually starts. Okay, so we actually made it right to the front of the line, right as the game was about to start. So we actually had perfect timing, and we got our opportunity to hit some dingers right before the game. Okay, here we are up on the upper level of the stadium, and this is another huge bonus, is they also have a continued play area up here on the upper deck as well, and they actually have TVs there, so a parent can watch their kids. Unfortunately, they don't have babysitting services, but parents can watch their kids and actually watch the game too. There is on TVs, and you can actually see through the corridor pieces of the game. And here are the view from our seats. As you can see, it's just a spectacular looking ballpark. Very, very old school in look, but with the same modern conveniences. The Ohio River obviously creates a tremendous backdrop. Very similar to Pittsburgh and PNC Park with their backdrop of the Allegheny River, but without obviously the colored bridges in the background. Something that's also very cool is that when the Reds pitcher has a strikeout, the smokestacks shoot on fire, as you can see here. And as you can see here, here's the home run pyro, which is pretty cool. And here's the pyro that goes off when the Reds win, which is also pretty cool. Okay, overall, the Great American Ballpark is a spectacular stadium. It does combine kind of the old school ambiance of a baseball team in a stadium, as well as the modern conveniences. This is by far the best stadium I've been to for family, especially for kids, with frankly 2 levels of play areas and things for the kids to do. Food is a little bit on the subpar side in terms of selection, but the outside of the stadium more than makes up for it with plenty of restaurants and bars on the outside of the stadium that can easily be, you can easily go to prior to the game and after. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, X, or TikTok. See you on the next one.